Hi, everyone. And judging by the subject matter, I think most of you are probably already SEER users, in which case, thanks for using the tools. And as you hopefully know, we are always trying to make your job a little easier. Recently, I was talking to someone using our tool, and they asked about a report, and that doesn't exist in SEER-SEM itself. However, we did create that report using Excel, and I was able to hand it right over to that person, and upon getting it, they said, wow, why didn't you tell other people about this? And so that was the genesis of this webinar. I'm going to show you a report that we've implemented in Excel. I'm going to switch to that report right now. Give me a second, and I'll do that. Called the Activity Fiscal Year by Fiscal Year Report. So in SEER-SEM, you can get I'll show you SEER-SEM actually for a second. In SEER-SEM, there is an activity report. I'm going to open it up right now. The activity report is right here. I'm going to click on that. And you can see how you get a linear set of activities and hours per each and such. But there is no organization by years, how they spread over years. And that's what this report in Excel is intended to help you do. And I know there's a demand for that because you often want to see how things array out across fiscal years by the activities. So this is how it works. We created a nice little spreadsheet, and it's easy to follow. We have a report directions and such. This comes with two special Flexport templates that you'll see me using that we would distribute with this report. I go to the input sheet, and it asks here for two columns, activity dates and activity costs. If I go into SEER-SEM, I'm going to go back into SEER-SEM, and let's say I want to go to the project level to get this report. This report is available at every level, but it's more dramatic when I do it at the project level. I'm going to go into the Tools, Flexible Export. Those of you who work with SEER-SEM should know Flexible Export. Those of you who don't, it's a very useful way of getting information in and out of SEER-SEM using templates. So we've added two templates here. Activity cost by fiscal year, costs and dates. You can do this in either order. I'm just going to start with, let's see, dates, because that's first. So I'm going to double-click. When I double-click, you don't see anything happening, but we have actually loaded some information in. And now I'm going to hit Export. I'm going to take that information, which is on the clipboard now, go back here. I'm going to paste. Okay, now I pasted that information. You can see start date, and then we go down. You'll see all the activities and their dates. We do have start dates for activities, but we don't organize this into fiscal year. That's the catch. We don't yet, and I'll show you how we do. Right now, I'm going to go back to the top. Cost column is next. I'm going to go back into SEER-SEM, double-click on the costs, and it's loaded that information that we need for cost. I hit Export, go back into Excel, and this time I'm just do Control-V, which is a paste. So you don't see me doing it, but I'm doing that. Okay, so now the information's in there. If you look at this, Redstone schedule, process simulation, Braintree, user management, these are all names that come from SEER-SEM, names of the various WBS elements. I'm going to go back into Excel and hit the Generate Report button. Voila, there we go. So now we've got a report that shows the entire project. You see that number there, 10,996,104, that's the total. Let's make sure that's right. I'm going to go here. Quick estimate, there's that number. That's the total. So the totals match up, 10,996,104. Although the breakdown is new. The breakdown is by fiscal year, 2013, 2014, and then we sum them by the year. If you go back to the input sheet, you could see we could change the calendar year and the fiscal year. Given the government shutdown, we might want to change the fiscal year. Let's change it to 12/1. I'll run that report again. And the breakdown changes. It changes to reflect the fiscal year start date. So if you have a varying fiscal year, no sweat. We can handle that in this report very easily. And of course, the calendar year. Well, if you ever want to change the calendar, you can do that too. Okay, so that's the first report. If you have questions, let's hold them all till the end of this talk, because I want to show you one more goodie we've prepared for you. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to freeze my screen for a second. I'm going to load the other item we've prepared to show you. I'm going to resume the screen. And this is a little bit less polished than the activity cost by fiscal year report. And one of the reasons it's a little less polished, it's very powerful. Let's say that you have some raw data, as the tab says, raw data, ton of information on past projects, and it's in a spreadsheet, which typically it is. And you want to get that information into SEER-SEM. Maybe you want to get it into SEER-SEM so you could then load it into the SEER HD in a better format. You can actually import this information into the SEER HD directly from Excel if you wanted to, but there are a lot of reasons why people want to load this information to SEER-SEM first. SEER HD is the historical database used to capture past projects. But let's say you want to get this information into SEER-SEM. Let's say you want to do an estimate in SEER-SEM, and you have been given information in Excel format that needs to then get further massaged once it's sent into Excel. So let's look through this spreadsheet. We've got size, effort, duration, year, etc. This was taken from an actual data set. We scrambled it up a little bit, so if you see things a little bit awry, there's a reason for that. But the data is real. We have used this for processing. We've got an ID, we've got platform, application, effort. This is actual effort of completed projects, average staff. I'm just showing you some details, a bit of parameter settings, a few, not too many. And then we've got the schedule. This is the actual schedule of the projects, and approximate numbers of lines and number of programs included, date, and we even have some notes. Okay, well, it would be wonderful to export that into SEER-SEM. We could get all sorts of information in real quickly if we could figure out a way to efficiently do it. Fortunately, we put a lot of work into getting that done. We regularly import data ourselves for research purposes, and so this scripting tool has been under development for a few years now and has a lot of features to let you flexibly import a whole variety of data under varying circumstances. I'll give you a quick rundown of what we've got in this control panel, make it a little less mysterious. It's actually pretty simple once you get the hang of it. So now, the yellow are what you edit. The black and white fields are there for guidance, or they're outputs. First thing you do is you specify the source sheet. The name could vary. Initial row and row of data. That's useful if you have a source sheet that has more than the rows of data you need. You can isolate that data to specific rows. Project name, platform application, all the knowledge bases you'd have for the project level. You don't have to have any. That's why these are specified as no knowledge, but you could specify them if you want. You choose an hours per person month. Let's say yours varies, and so we can set that in here to change it within SEM. Default start date, in case you don't specify a start date below. And then you start specifying the data itself in this area below. The data that you have in Excel will vary quite a lot, and so you need to have the freedom to specify which columns belong to which SEER-SEM fields. So, for example, we'll just go through it quickly. WBS create, this is the name of the WBS element, field column AF. Let's go look at AF. And again, this is should be straightforward. AF is the name. There you go. So create the WBS element using column AF. It's required. You can't create it unless you've got that name. So we have a special field here called required, and the keyword is required, and that indicates you can't do anything without that. Then you specify all the knowledge bases. We only have two, AG and AH, platform and application. So we specify those fields, leave the rest blank. We're using functions, so that's column B. All the way back there, size in functions. Here's an interesting setting. Calibration actual or required effort months or schedule months. What is that? That is in SEER-SEM. For those of you who don't normally use this, this is how you get actual information into SEER-SEM. Some of you are probably familiar with it, some of you not. I'm going to show it to you now. These fields up here, which are normally hidden, I just invoked the calibration feature to unhide these fields. These are the fields we use to capture actual effort and actual schedule. And there's some things we do with that information in SEER-SEM. I'm not going to go into those features now, just to show you where those are. So we're going to capture those. Now here, we've got two other keywords in the required column. This or set 1, what does that mean? That means we got to have either effort or schedule. If we don't have one or the other, we can't count this record. We've got two this or sets, so that's why we call them this or set 1. And we've got another pair called this or set 2. So you can put these, you can plop these wherever you want. And if it doesn't have one of these columns or the other, it's not going to count the record. You may have guessed that that's the way the required keyword works too. If I were to say WBS create column AF, and column AF here has a bunch of values, so no problem. But if this were blank, we wouldn't output this. I'm not going to leave it blank right now. I just want to show you that. So if it's not there, it doesn't get counted. The record gets skipped. And then we've got a few other items. Start date. You can have a note. Function implementation mechanisms. Staff level. These are probably self-explanatory. These are SEER-SEM parameters. The types here, I haven't explained them along the way, but maybe you've been looking K-bases. Set the K-base. Least likely most outputs, you have to tell the system how these things look and what sort of values they are. So functions, least likely most. Scalar values are single element values in SEER-SEM. Date is necessary to output a date. Notes are a special field that gets output along with the WBS create command. So you specify note and it comes out. I'll show you how this works in practice. String value, if in some cases you don't have what you need, you just specify NA and we'll ignore this output. And staff level. Special little thing for staff level is, let's see, you've got in this case AM, column AM is staff level. What do we have in column AM? We have average staff. Well, average staff is never the actual staff, it's the average staff. So you can specify a band, a staffing band. In this case, we've said we have a min-max multiplier for staff. This is one of the inputs. We don't change as often, but it's here. So if you have an average staff, you can say, well, average. The least is going to be half that. At most, maybe 1.5 times that. So you can specify that up here. And we'll output a staffing constraint that is high and low based on the average staff. There's a way to do it where that staffing is not minimum max or just staff. Okay, enough introduction to this. I'm going to hit create server script, and it works real fast. It's been optimized to work with thousands of records, so it works real quickly. And here's the server script. It's already highlighted. I'm going to Control-C, You could see I've actually copied that to the clipboard. I'm going to go back into SEER-SEM. Here's the fun part. I'm going to highlight the win and arrange everything. Still got it in the clipboard. Tools, run commands from clipboard. And there it goes, churning away, processing that server mode script, excuse me. I'm going to show you something about the way it processed it. Here it says serial number 2. Well, there was a serial number 1. Here in the raw data, you could see that. Serial number 1. Why didn't it output that? That's weird. Well, see here, serial number 1. There, where'd it go? There we go. Why didn't it output that? AL effort. Did we use that one? We did, but it wasn't there. And BI, we could have used that instead. So what happened there? BI wasn't there either. So we skipped it. We didn't output the first record. That's why it's not there. We had notes. Where are those notes? They were at the end. Suspect records. Okay, simple note, but important note. It's good to output that too. Were those output? Let's go back into SEER-SEM. First one. There it is. We outputted it. There it is, suspect records. So we can actually create notes in Excel and output those into the resultant file. So now you've got everything in here. Skipped a few, put the notes in, specified them. I'll go into one of the records to show you which items got specified. Go in here, expand the parameters, and go down the list. So we specified functions. As you probably know, the bold ones are the ones that got specified. Specified the start date. Staffing, remember we set that as a range, so this one was set between just below 1, 2, and nearly 5. And that's all we set for this one. We didn't set any of the other parameters. Even though you saw them in Excel, we actually didn't, in the control panel, set them. We left them blank. On knowledge bases, of course, we did specify. So if you go into this, you could see we've got the 2 knowledge bases we set. We could have set all of them. You could set anything you want. We chose relatively few based upon the data. Well, those are the 2 tools that we wanted to show you today. There'll be others in future episodes,